a loyal person, humble. Sometimes I don't like praising myself. But my name is Chimobi Wosu. If you look here, you see Chima Wosu. But whenever I'm called my mom calls me Chimobi. Come here. So what do? I run away. So right now, that is what I learned something. So if I'm walking, if I was told I will handle this, I said no. My shoe is not. I'm not wearing the right shoe. My shoe is. I was told no. We are not trying to tell you to go and start playing soccer. Just talk. So that is the only reason you see me here. That's why I consult with her. Say, what do I do next? I don't want to get spanked later on. And right now, we will go to flagship presentation. I call Her Excellency. That's what I call her. Her Excellency, Madam Patient Keys, will talk about the agenda for Lagos 2025 and beyond. A round of applause as she approaches.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chima. And thank you for those of us who have spoken. All our speakers, thank you very much. That was powerful, that is great. And you've really touched the mind of the project, the program, and all the things that NiDCC are putting together, and I'm glad that we are working with great minds who we have to bring it to fruition. Again, it's not about all the talks, it's about the implementation so that we can see result and it will touch lives and those lives will be happy. So we're going to keep moving first, due to time. So I'll just read and so I'm presenting the flagship, the presentation. The theme for the Nigeria event that will be happening on August 4th to 6th is the people. Like, we talk about human capital development and all that. It's all about people, the business, and the future of emerging markets, the future of Africa, the future of Latin America, the future of those people you think they are underserved. What is our future? Because, with what we have, like I said earlier, our intellect, our resources, we use to develop the developed world. So we need to develop ourselves. And we need to tell those that we have been collaborating to develop their area that we need to also go back and do the same thing. And if not, we have the intellect, we have the resources, we have the know-how. Because if we can do it elsewhere, we can do it also back home and make Africa shine. So it's my honor to unveil the grand agenda. Like I've talked about the topic, NiDCC was built to bridge that gap between emerging markets and advanced markets. Through innovation, through the people, through businesses, through entrepreneurship. And that is what we're going to do. As we prepare to touch down in Lagos, Nigeria from August 4 to 6, 2025. For what promises to be a historic convergence of people, convergence of businesses, and convergence of bold futures. The theme of the event, as all the people, the business, and the future of emerging markets, is not just a slogan. It is a declaration of intent. We are intentional about what we want to do. We are intentional about the growth of us, about the development of us, about the transformation of us. It is a call to action for governments, for investors, for innovators, and for diasporans. And the government is very important because everything about policy comes from the government. And that policy affects even the water we drink, everything. Some people will say, I won't go into politics. Yes, if you're not calling to go to politics, at least support those who are going in whichever way you can. Because whatever Trump says, whatever Tinubu says, whatever the British Prime Minister says, it affects the community, the countries, and the global space. And diasporans across the world who understand that next great chapter of global commons will be written in emerging markets, powered by the strength of the people, steered by strategic business ecosystems, and sustained by forward-looking partnerships. Why are we doing this in Lagos? Lagos is not just Nigeria's commercial capital. It is the gateway to Africa's most vibrant economy. with over 200 million population in Nigeria, over 37 million small, medium, and enterprises, and one of the fastest growing population of youths and tech and innovators. Nigeria is the heartbeat of Africa's transformation, but Lagos 2025 is bigger than geography. It is a movement, it's a connection, it's a collaboration, one that stretches from Abuja to Atlanta, from Johannesburg to Geneva, and Toronto to Tokyo. It is the Chamber's global bridge in action. What are we launching? So here we're launching the Nourish Food Agenda, the Nourish Security Food Project, because agricultural transformation is key in every economy, is key in every community. You know, it baffles me, you know, when even in America, because before we came to America, some of us think, oh, you're going to get very close to God. Everything will just be fine. There's no bed of roses everywhere. We still donate. We still talk about, you know, some areas. I went to school in Baltimore, the core of Baltimore. I remember then, as my husband was dropping me off in school, he said, baby, I love you, I'll be praying for you. Because the place I went to, nursing school, the core of Baltimore, close to Johns Hopkins, the greatest hospital in the world, you know what happens there and all that. So, and we go to the field, we want to feed people, we want to healthcare, a lot of, why? Because there's need everywhere in the world, and we can't stop eating food. You know, so we're doing this. It's a strategic food and agricultural security program across, you know, across Pan-Africa, across wherever we are mentioned as the Chamber of Commerce. We're also launching the Future Leaders Academy, just like we've talked about, you know, skills development and all that. I don't want to read so that my brother will have time, our chairman will also have time to talk. And the third one, the Diaspora Investment Exchange, that was mentioned by Dr. Love and also Dr. Wulu. All those things, you know, are things that NiDCC has put together. For NiDCC Global Training Hubs, an international academy of professional development, where we're providing skills, credentialing for professionals across tech, health, finance, and creative industries, local training with global standards. The other one is public-private partnership pavilion, where we'll, you know, curate roundtable, bringing together ministries, private sectors, titans, and diaspora leaders to talk about the future of business. Then the women and the youths impact tract, elevating those that we think they are often behind, because economic transformation is not complete until every woman, every young person is sitting at the table and also leading. Who will be there? Of course, we've invited, and we're still inviting governments across nations. Governments across nations, U.S. departments, Nigerian presidency and National Assembly, global Fortune 500 executives, diaspora chambers, embassies, foundations, and innovation labs has been invited. Great individuals, and all that. This will not be another talk shop. It is a catalytic event where business meets conscience, where capital meets community, and where partnerships are signed, not just discussed. From diaspora to destiny. Ladies and gentlemen, we no longer ask for inclusion. We are building the tables. NiDCC is not a membership club. We are not just a membership club. We are not just a membership organization. We are futuristic. We are project-based. And that is what makes us different. We're not just, you know, form membership, let's interact with one another, which is good. We want to touch the project. We want to feel the project. We are part of what is happening in the lives of people. A mission to use resources of the privileged. Yes, our mission is to use the resources of the privileged to raise the underserved. A mission to drive shared value, not just shareholder value. We stand for prosperity, we stand for purpose, we stand for development with dignity, business with humanity. As we look toward Lagos 2025, let this movement, let this moment in Washington, D.C. be our ignition. Let it be the charge that lights up corridors of trade from Brooklyn to Benin City, from Baltimore to Bauchi, to our partners, supporters, and future collaborators. This is our invitation. We want you to join us, not just in Lagos, but join us in making history. And I thank everyone for coming. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Mrs. President Patience NiDCC. She is the President and CEO of Nigerians in Diaspora Chamber of Commerce, an organization I belong to, cherish. Now, we have I have the honor of inviting Professor Pat Utomi, who is the Chairman Board of Trustees of the Nigerians in Diaspora Chamber of Commerce. Let us give him a round of applause.
Thank you so much. I'd like to appreciate Dr. Chimamosu very much for his diligence this morning. Very good morning to you all. I'll say a couple of things very quickly about the year that I've spent in Washington, and then a thing or two about how this chamber initiative can be transforming. Piggybacking on a very, very remarkable presentation by Dr. Ulu, I appreciate that very much. I thank you for the comments that you have made. My career has been a very interesting one, and I'm thankful for the privilege of it. There's a son of mine who's now actually a very senior manager in a continental banking organization, so that goes back, it tells how long ago this was said. When he was 2.5 years old, somebody came to the house and said, where's your mommy? She's gone to work. And he says, I'm assuming your dad has gone to work too. He said, no, my dad doesn't go to work, he goes to meetings. He's forever embarrassed. Being reminded of the fact that his daddy doesn't go to work. Because all he kept hearing was, I'm going to a meeting. Now, those meetings have taken me to all kinds of different platforms. Very active in civil society for very, very many years. Until now, I chaired the boards of some of Nigeria's major civil society organizations, from Women Arise. I go as far as that. Women Arise. I'm chair of the board of Women Arise. Joe, okay. Udumaki. Chair the board of, what in my view is perhaps the most focused NGO that's come out of Nigeria, Bigger Chesson's Paradigm Initiative. I've worked in the industry. I was chief executive of Volkswagen in Nigeria for quite a number of years. And of course, I've been in academia, being one of those who founded the Lagos Business School, and remain active there as an academic. In fact, 5 a.m. this morning, I was participating in a session at Lagos Business School in Nigeria this morning at 5 a.m. But one of the reasons I came out for this fellowship is that traditionally, every 10 years, I take a break from the madness around me and come and spend 1 year in some institution to do one thing or the other. I was here in Washington in 1996 on a similar mission, scholar in residence at American University, during which I wrote a book titled, well, I started the work here, then spent time at the Harvard Business School and wrote a book titled Managing Uncertainty, Competition and Strategy in Emerging Economies. Came out sometime later to do a similar thing, and because I've been also active in politics, I was pretty near exhaustion about 1.5 years ago. And somebody here in Washington at NDI, most of you probably know Chris Fumunyo, Dr. Fumonia said, why don't you break out of come out of Nigeria? You just come out. And I said, oh, well, let me think. And he let word out that, it would be good for me to come out of Nigeria. And the next thing is I got an invitation from the Woodrow Wilson Center to spend a year as a global policy scholar and a fellow, actually first BCM Capital Management Fellow at the Woodrow Wilson Center, talking about Baltimore. That fellowship was endowed by Brown Capital Management, which is a remarkable, successful African-American investment banking group. And by the way, I went to Indiana University in Bloomington in the 70s. And so when Eddie Brown and his team wanted to meet with me, I indicated that I just realized that Eddie Brown was an IU graduate. And one of the executives said, both of you were at Indiana in the 70s? Boy, you must be only two people of color there at that time. But that's not true. There were as many as 88 Nigerians actually at Indiana University in 1978 when I got there to go to grad school. Anyhow, when I got the invitation to come to Washington to be a fellow at the Woodrow Wilson Center, I had to set an agenda for what I would do. I decided I was going to write a book. I was going to do a series of programs around sovereign wealth funds and infrastructure development that would drive intra-African trade. By the way, another hat that I wear, and I still wear, is chair of PAFTRAC. PAFTRAC is Private Sector Pan-African Trade and Investment Committee of the African Union. So I kind of chair the body that advises African heads of state on private sector investment on the continent. Secretariat is at the Afri-Exim Bank. So the Afri-Exim Bank has been partly responsible for the time that I have spent here in Washington. I've had several workshops, bringing speakers from all over the place. And Afri-Exim has spent more than $250,000 bringing people to the workshops that I have hosted at the Woodrow Wilson Center. When I got here, it seemed like a good time to share some thought on another book that I had begun early work on. And Peter Lewis, who is Vice Dean and Professor at SAIS, Center of School of International Advanced Studies, Strategic Advanced Studies at Woodrow, Johns Hopkins University, right up there at the Bloomberg Center. And Peter said to me, why don't you teach a class around the book that you're working on? And I said, oh, why not? So I taught this class at Johns Hopkins, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And this moment is probably a good one to speak to the theme of that class and the book that I am now writing on that. I've been looking at the many theories of economic development. When I came out on one of those sabbaticals many years ago, about 2005, I wrote a book titled Why Nations Are Poor. Just looking at the factors that lead to underdevelopment. And I thought I should do some explaining as to why development theories have not led to development in Africa. And so that class was about taking the various paradigms of economic development, starting from the modernization thesis with the Walls Rostow and all of them, going through dependency paradigm and the Latin American dependistas, all the way up to the Washington Consensus and the prescriptions of the World Bank and the IMF with the structural adjustment programs in Africa. What was clear to me is that each one of them managed to miss out what we're talking about here today. The place of entrepreneurship and how to make markets work in those countries. And so World Bank and Co. made a lot of noise about privatization. The dirigi state was the object of attack. Government must pull out, private sector must move in. Good, so they began privatization programs all across Africa. But enterprise did not thrive because nobody really, I mean, you take what happened in Europe after World War II and the Marshall Plan, and they say, well, if you can just provide some capital from abroad, then what happened in Europe after World War II will happen in Africa. What's enterprise culture? How do you make markets work? There's a professor at Harvard who I designed a course with back in the 90s. We're going to teach it across the continent. And the title of the course was Making Markets Work. Just because of this thinking. Shortly after that, she accepted to be president of one of the women universities in the Northeast, and that was the end of that initiative. So, when I hear the points being made here, I am elated, I'm excited because it fits right square into what I've been working on this last year and a half. The book is almost ready and it's titled Why African Nations Are Still Poor. So on top of that, I had to do the work of my fellowship, which is about sovereign wealth funds and intra-African trade. And that's a little easy because I found a clever way around it by getting people to make presentations, and each of those people would write a chapter. I would basically write 1 or 2 chapters. So that's an easy one to get away with. And I met with actually yesterday at dinner, and some who are going to be writing chapters in this book. One of them from the World Bank, Volker Treikel. So, was this enough to keep you down during 1 year and I guess 2 months? More than enough. But I have a way of getting myself into more trouble than I deserve. And so I began to think about the problem in Africa, beginning from Nigeria, in terms of why politics underdevelops the economies of those countries. And I created what I call the New Tribe. The New Tribe is a group of Nigerians who have no regard for ethnicity, who have no regard for those kinds of divisions that hold us down, that the work of people like Joshua Green at the Center for Moral Cognition at Harvard, I recognize in bringing philosophy, psychology, and neuroscience together to understand why people fall so easily for emotions over rational thinking. Joshua Green's book, Moral Tribes, Emotion, Reason, and the Gap Between Us and Them. It's a pretty good expose on that challenge. It's happening right here in America, not to talk of Africa. So why is human nature like this? How do we overcome it? And my view is that we can overcome it through human action. And so the New Tribe, and you can check this site, thenewtribe.ng, thenewtribe.ng. The New Tribe is designed to bring together Nigerians all over the world, significantly the diaspora, to focus on specific areas where government or no government, you can actually have transformative impact in the society. It has 14 cohorts. One cohort is a healthcare cohort, and we've got literally hundreds of Nigerian doctors who have signed up, pharmacists and like from around the world. And they meet on the side in Zoom meetings and develop initiatives. Two of the initiatives that the healthcare cohort are working on right now. There's something like emergency medical service in Nigeria. Something happens to you, you're dead. I mean, small thing. I mean, even to get an ambulance is, And so Dr. Adisa in Atlanta. Now, each of these cohorts is led by a cluster of 6 co-chairs. Why is that? Because I think one of the big problems of leadership in Nigeria is that we've not learned collegial leadership. As one man who knows everything. Once he's there, I am Buhari, I am Tinubu. You need people who hold each other accountable. So building collegial leadership. And I have an example of one small group of ragtag leaders who learned collegial leadership and changed human history. There were 12 men called apostles that Jesus left. They changed human history. So, the idea of the cohorts is that we have collegial leadership for these 14 cohorts. So from healthcare to policy to infrastructure, education, and on and on. Our hope is that more and more people will get active in it. They will pick their own projects and make a difference. I think that one of my favorite cohorts is one that looks at solving local problems. A group of you from some village, hometown, whatever, can decide that you want to fix one problem in your community. And my favorite example to everybody there is, look, we have markets, all these places, environments are not sanitary, there are no public toilets, and we know the challenges. You just decide, want to build a public toilet system, maintain it at world class in Akure, in Ondo, in Enugu, in Kaduna, wherever it is. And on your own, do it. Nobody raise your own money, do everything. Just do it. Make an impact in the community. And then I close and move towards what the reason that we're meeting for here is focusing on, by saying that I got a piece of news that troubled me yesterday from one of my World Bank friends. Nigeria is now at a level where 75% of people who live in rural areas are in absolute poverty. 75%. That is tragic. I have made a decision I'm not going to live in Lagos anymore. I'm going to go back home and live. Unfortunately, my hometown is not rural anymore, not quite rural. The Asaba airport is on my family land. So it's not that rural, but at least it's more rural than Lagos. And I'm going to live there and see what impact my living there will make in that community. So, as you come together and you reflect on what this chamber is doing, please bear in mind that the great economic transformation stories of the 20th century were diaspora driven. Japan, after the Meiji Restoration, it was Japanese diaspora coming largely from Germany that made Japan recognize benefits and value of technology. And the Japanese story is history. You can see very clearly, we saw them, what the Indian diaspora did for India. India outsourcing that was going to India and all of that. Indian academics, there was a time as a business school leader myself, each time I came to the United States, I met with business school deans. At a point in time, the major business schools, almost all their deans were Indian. And there was one I never met on seat, as we say in Nigeria. The dean of the Kellogg School of Business, Deepak Jain. But when I started looking closely, he was on the board of most major Indian corporations, while dean at Kellogg. When Joseph Stiglitz wrote Globalization and Its Discontents, very critical of the thrust of globalization, the role of the IMF and all of that, his colleague at the Earth Institute in Colombia, who is Indian, Jagdish Bhagwati, wrote a counterbook in praise of globalization. Because Indian academics have put globalization in a way that it meant moving, outsourcing things which profited majorly India. We now have enough Nigerian academics playing here to play those kinds of roles with Nigeria. But more importantly, if anybody understands the way industrialization takes place, I know the incumbent president of the United States wants to use tariffs ostensibly to bring manufacturing back to the United States. Well, I'm sorry to say, he just doesn't seem to understand what he's doing. Because the truth of the matter is manufacturing is not coming back to America. It cannot come back. It doesn't mean America is poorer. America is making much more money in the tech space. It does not need manufacturing, but he lives in the 50s when, through the rise of manufacturing, we saw people with hardly any education see their incomes rise as people who work in factories in Detroit and elsewhere. What has now happened is that manufacturing moved to China, but even China has peaked. It's going to be moving to Africa. The next factory of the world is between Dakar, Lagos, and Aba. And the role that you can play, being people who lived and worked in this manufacturing environment, will not only prosper Africa, it will prosper you as individuals. This ought to be the trust of what this chamber is doing. You know the risks there, and so you can calculate. Africa has been the problem of perceived risk. And part of my role in PathTrack is to encourage the Afri-Exim Bank and banks like that to see their play as de-risking Africa. Because the person sitting here in Washington doesn't know anything about Africa, imagines all kinds of incredible risks. But when you de-risk Africa by the comforts that you provide to make them feel secure in investing, they will find that the returns on their investments will be extraordinary. I shouldn't say I wish the chamber well, because I am part of it, but we're going to give it everything we've got. By the way, my friend Andrew Craig, who is sitting here, is here very frequently. He's a very well-known American journalist, but we dragged him into an initiative a few years ago, which maybe Andrew should say a word or two about as part of closing, just a few minutes. So thank you all so much for coming, and let's wish all of us the very best.
Well, thank you, Dr. Utomi. A very mixed introduction for this unexpected request to speak, because on the one hand he said a word or two, and then he said a few minutes. So what I'm going to be is maybe in between with just 1 minute or so. But I'm a journalist who 27 years here at the Press Club. But I'm also an attorney, a nonprofit executive, and when I hear such interesting and important comments, I pull out my notepad because I put on that hat, and so I've been filling up the long legal pad with this important announcements and lectures and discussions, and I want to meet you. But in my last word or two, I'll say that for 12 years, I was president and CEO of something called the Wireless Communications Association. And here was the concept: to take a dream of internet through the air from dream to reality. So I did that as leader of this organization from 1996 to 2008. And in the course of that, this is a worldwide effort to build new industries, get the right regulations so things work, and of course get the investment going. And one of Dr. Utomi's close friends was our Africa director, and he was from Nigeria. He had a company some of you may know, Trends Media, Uzo Udemba. And when Dr. Utomi was running for president, but also a tremendous background in many areas, the thought was, let's bring him right here to the press club, but also to Congress, to the State Department, to speak at the Council on Foreign Relations, CSIS. And I volunteered after leaving the association to lead this effort. And we had a tremendous conference right here where we brought, it was entitled Invest in Nollywood, Nigerian film industry. And of course we had the former leader of the film board as Dr. Utomi, our featured speaker. It was right down there overlooking the White House, the Treasury Department. We had investors and others from New York, from Hollywood and California, and of course here in Washington. And we had some great meetings, some great ideas, great talk. And so I'm going to take my last 2 words or so to just say what a worthy person to chair your organization, as I understand it, and to honor right here. And thank you for allowing me to sit in and just express my gratitude. By the way, I've been buying his books through the years, and he only brought one here. One of the things we got to do is get the message out about, in many different ways. I see you have my friend Patricia McDonald here. McDougall. Boy, you should. I led a town hall at my Cornell University reunion last weekend, and I managed to mess up the married name of my college girlfriend who was an elected official, so I have a history, please don't take it personally. But at any rate, what a worthy person to honor, and I'm delighted to be here at the launch and look forward to wishing you a successful career.
Thank you so much. As you can see, I've been dragging myself and trying to have fun. You know, I mean, don't call me if I'm not going to have fun. I'll just convert the situation, and this is a call for action.
Yes.
And is Dr. Gully here?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Gully is not here. Okay, this is just closing remarks, but I would like, yeah, okay. So, I wanted to drag her out again. I like pulling legs for her to make the closing remarks. So much Professor Utomi and the other people, I don't remember all the names because I forgot my cab last night. So we really appreciate everyone. And this is a call for action and a call to action. We are going to make these things work.
Yes.
And when we come knocking on your door, please Remember, my name is Chima Nwosu. Hello, who is there? It's me, Chima Nwosu.
Not
Please.
Chimaobi.
Not Chimaobi. Yeah. So call to action. Thank you so much. I thank the executive members of the NiDCC and all our guests. Please have a wonderful day. So we'll be taking some pictures now. And the guests who I would like to take picture with, you know who. Thank you. So we'll call the sequence, right?
Oh, for me? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we did the. We would like you and Dr. Utomi and
Board members.
Dr. Yes.
Executive
Yes.
board members.
Thank you.